So kind of getting back to kind of how they're thinking about these things, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but they talked quite a bit about this sort of idea of kind of an academic concept of how people think through problems and how exams can test that knowledge. And there's this apparently well-known pyramid. That pyramid is, I believe it's the Bloom pyramid. And it has these different sort of aspects to it. It starts down at the bottom with remember. So those are kind of rote memory things. What is pi? 3.14. Understand, where you start to kind of go beyond that and you start saying, well, how could I use it in a situation? How does it fit in the world? And apply. Now, okay, how do I use it when the context starts getting a little more complicated? And then analyze, which is starting to say, all right, I understand that piece of information. I understand these other 3 or 4 pieces of information. How do I start to prioritize and make these things kind of work together and evaluate? How do I really make a final decision and move through? And then create, how do I actually now finally make something? The way that the folks there are thinking about it, create is kind of great. That's what architects do, but it's not really about the exam. And then with remember, they're trying to get away from this sort of simplistic question of, what is the value of pi? And so they're really trying to get you to focus on these 2 areas. So evaluate and analyze together, and apply and understand together. And clearly, the evaluate and analyze are sort of more cognitively difficult type questions, and apply and understand are a little bit simpler, more straightforward type questions. And you'll start to notice that there'll be these EA or AE, I can't remember, and UA designations at various points. And that starts to tell you, for a specific portion of the exam, kind of where they're thinking you should be at. Like, is this a part of the exam where it's really all about just kind of getting you up to speed to understand and be able to do some simple application aspects of it, maybe some of the more complicated systems or structures aspects. They're not really expecting you to be a structural engineer and evaluate at a very deep level of understanding a full set of different documents. But you should be able to at least make some quick decisions and apply different pieces of information as you go along. So this, once you see that, it allows you to kind of understand a little bit better kind of where they're going, what they're thinking about. So let me show you a couple of examples about that. So one of the examples they mentioned, so I mentioned this is the idea of pi. Right, so you could imagine a question that says, what is the value of pi? Or it might even, you could imagine different types of questions about, like, what is the value of pi to 2 decimal points? What is the value of pi to 10 decimal points? Those are, harder versions of remember type questions, but they're still essentially the same basic question. But then their version of what they would be more interested in is a question that might say, all right, we have, let's say, some 1 inch or 1.5 inch diameter rebar, and we need to have a certain number of square inches of steel in the concrete beam. How many of the 1.5 inch rebar do we need? And obviously, you would need to know that pi is equal to 3.14. So you had to remember it. It's just that the question isn't about remembering it, it's about using it. It's about applying that information. It's about kind of understanding how that fits in the world. So it's not just rote memory, it's rote memory that's then kind of usable in a situation. So the remember stuff that is out, the words that they say are going to be gone, are going to be questions that say define or identify or label, list, match, name. So they're going to be saying, like, a question that says name the something or other, right? That's not going to be a question anymore.